thanks for tuning in. Hope you're having a beautiful week. If you are new here, hi, I'm Madison. I talk about all things spirituality and metaphysics on my channel. Today we are doing a channeled message from the Akashic Records, where I went into the Akashic Records and was really asking my spirit guides, what are some of the main signs right now that people are going through or a part of this great awakening that we're experiencing collectively? And so I was given 5 signs that you are a part of the Great Awakening. But before we get into those, I really want to explain what the Great Awakening is, because I think there's a lot of terminology being thrown around and people aren't really sure. So what is the Great Awakening? I basically asked this question in the Akashic Records, then I wrote down the answer because it was kind of dynamic. The Great Awakening is a time collective consciousness shift that allows you to have an expedited awakening and spiritual shift. The darkness of Earth needed to be counteracted by the light and the light workers. So there are a lot of souls that chose to incarnate into planet Earth during this specific time to be the light during a time of so much darkness. So not only is it intentional in terms of the energy, but also the timing of when Earth was going to need that love and support. So the next thing I said was, who does this impact? Because I was trying to figure out, is there a specific population or age range or whatever that's more impacted? And so before I read this answer, if you are new here and you don't know much about my story, I struggled with addiction for many years, and that is addressed in my answer. So if you're somebody who maybe you think I've done too much wrong, or I have too funky of a past to maybe walk down the spiritual path, trust me, you don't. So here's the response that I got. Who does this impact? So this was my spirit guide to me. There are no limits to who can be impacted. You, as in me, were a functioning alcoholic addicted to pills 4 years ago. You're not too old, too young, too far gone, or too poor. So basically my spirit guide was like, hey, remember how 4 years ago you were addicted to alcohol and pills and other things? Yeah, if you can now do this, other people can too, make these really dramatic shifts. So there's nobody that's too far gone or too lost or too poor or too old or too whatever to be impacted or to be a part of this great awakening. So I just wanted to throw that out there in case you have a limiting belief that you can't be a part of it because of whatever, right? So now let's get into it. What are the main signs that you're going through and a part of the Great Awakening? So first one that came through, heightened intuition. There are 2 big ways that this is showing up for people. First one, knowing things you can't explain. So maybe you just know things that are going on behind the scenes in a situation and you don't know how you know it, but then later something happens and you're like, I knew it, but I couldn't say it because there's no way I would know that, right? Other thing is knowing who's good for you. So whenever I was trying to learn discernment of who's good for me and who's not, I started to have this thing where people who are not good for me would sort of get this red fiery aura around them. And that was a sign they were not good for me. On the flip side, people who were really good for me would get this kind of bright sparkly aura around that was almost angelic or iridescent looking, right? And so that for me was something that when it first started happening, I was like, whoa. But it's something that really helped me to discern and kind of have this language with my guides of they're safe, they're not. And it's pretty black and white. So number 2, clair abilities. So the clair abilities are the ability to use your spiritual senses to be able to see things in the 5th dimension that don't exist in the 3rd dimension, to be able to hear or communicate with your spirit guides, to be able to smell potentially the smells of maybe your great grandmother who passed away, and maybe her sending you the smell of her apple pie is how she reminds you that she's around. And then there are also people that know things they can't explain. And there are people that are very empathic, that their spiritual gift is feeling, meaning that if there's a spirit around, they know, and they probably know who it is, but maybe they don't necessarily have any visual experience that comes with that. It's just more this feeling and this knowing. And the feeling and the knowing gift is one of the biggest underrated gifts, because so many people have had that gift their entire lives and they don't realize that it's a spiritual gift, and they assume everybody else is having that experience. And let me tell you, they're not. Some people do not have any sort of intuition at all whatsoever. And so if you're having these experiences, it's probably a way that your spiritual gifts are coming online or starting to get a little bit stronger. Okay, number 3, if you have shifted from maybe being completely uninterested in what's going on in the world around you to now being in a space of being a really big truth seeker, that can be a sign that you're a part of this great awakening. Similarly, if maybe you were somewhat interested in what was going on in the world around you, but now you're like hyper fixated on maybe a social justice issue, that's also probably a good sign that you are a part of this great awakening period. And that thing that's triggering you or that you're feeling drawn to is probably a part of your purpose on a spiritual perspective. And that's why it's so heavy on your heart right now. I know some of my girlfriends that are really just, I would call them social justice warriors. That's kind of a big part of their spiritual mission. They're really feeling it right now because it's not a good time, here on planet Earth, And so one thing that came through about this specifically is that if you're experiencing this, you are probably also experiencing having people or videos just come into your path or find you that connect dots or expand your current knowledge. So, for example, maybe you're like, oh, I've been interested in energy healing. And then the next day you happen to go somewhere and you meet a Reiki teacher and you're like, okay, that's crazy. Things like that, right? It's the universe literally saying, you're on this path, we're going to support you, we're going to give you the resources that you need. Okay, number 4, your algorithm is tailored to allowing you to awaken. Let me explain this to you. There were a couple times that I really was able to expand my consciousness or my knowledge of metaphysical or quantum theory through rabbit holes on Instagram or YouTube, right? There is a lot of free information out there. So obviously you have to use your discernment and make sure you know that it's aligned. But you can get a lot of knowledge out there in terms of learning different metaphysical things. And so I was kind of like, are you guys, being my spirit guides, sending me some of these like videos and like knowledge things to kind of continue to expand my knowledge? Or like, is it a coincidence? And I'm kind of like wondering this, right? And then immediately I get this reel. Never seen a reel like this ever again. And it was just like a black screen. And it said, your algorithm is perfectly tailored by your angels to enhance your spiritual awakening. And I was like, and then I had that happen and I was like, wait, is this happening to other people too? And like, they don't realize, like maybe they're wanting to learn more about astrology. And then on their For You page is like the perfect astrologer that's going to end up being like a big mentor for them. Like these crazy connections that are happening right now, oddly through social media of all places. Okay, number 5. This is the hardest one. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It's hard. Don't hate me, because I've been through it too, and this was definitely the hardest one for me. Lower vibe people, jobs, or relationships are going to fall off. I'm sorry, they are. If you have people around you who you have been maybe questioning their intentions, maybe they're just not, they weren't vibrationally aligned with the old version of you, they're not going to be aligned with this new version of you that's more high vibe, right? And let's talk about that from an energetic perspective. So whenever I was heavy in addiction, I was very low vibrational. I was very angry, frustrated, victim mentality, all these things, right? So I attracted people that had those same energetic things going on, right? So then, whenever I said, oh, actually, I'm not a victim, I can fix my life, I am in control, I can create whatever reality I want despite what's happened to me, and I completely shifted that mindset into a new vibrational frequency, those people that fit that version of me no longer fit this version of me, right? And it sucks. It does, especially if there's people that have been in that, state with you maybe for years. I was in addiction for probably 10, 12 years. So there were a lot of people that I had to part ways with that, I'd been friends with, but really just party buddies with for, 10, 12 years. And that's hard. Same thing with jobs or, things like that, where sometimes maybe you're in a low vibe job and you need to change, but maybe things have to get worse in order to actually get you to the point where you'll make a move, right? So sometimes the universe does make us uncomfortable to remind us that we can't stay complacent if it's not for our highest timeline. So yeah, it's really all about vibrational matches. Like if you are energetic and happy and loving and caring and in gratitude, that's high vibrational. And so energetically, you're going to attract those people to you. Negative, angry, frustrated victim mentality, low vibrational, you're going to attract those people. So as you shift from one to the other, you will notice your circles start to change as your timelines start to change a little bit. So yeah, if you guys want more resources, I do have a membership for people who are going through spiritual awakening. It's called the 5D Ascension membership, and it teaches you how to do things like connect with your spirit guides, connect with your higher self, even things like access your Akashic records. And essentially, it's a video database that you can take all these different kind of like courses or activations. And then every week I come in with new things that I'm teaching every single Monday. So that is something that's available exclusively on my website. You can subscribe and try a week for free. I have that set up where you guys can try a week for free, and then after that, it's only $22 a month. So yeah, if you're wanting just more resources and maybe something to focus on every week to expand your knowledge, that's a great way to do it. If you want to work with me one-on-one, I do Akashic Records readings, and I do Reiki energy healing sessions. So if you want to book either of those, also available on my website. And then I also teach Akashic Records classes and mediumship classes. So if you're wanting to tap into your Akashic Records abilities or mediumship abilities, those classes are also available on my website. All of this can be done from anywhere in the world. If I do a online thing, I do it through Zoom and then I record it, so you can get like that recorded version after. If we do like a one-on-one session, obviously if we do a big training with everybody, then it's not recorded. But if we do a one-on-one session, that's normally how I do it. So yeah, I hope that you guys have a great week. I will see you next week, and if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments. Bye.